Alright, welcome back to my breakdown of the work I did for Cryptid's Chasm. Today, I'll be going over the cutscenes, or at least the opening cutscene and good ending cutscene. The bad ending cutscene, I'm probably going to go over whenever I go over the monster sounds. So this was the first major thing I worked on. I think I did some work on footsteps before this, maybe, but this was the first big thing. Let's see. So okay, this prelude I actually added later. Originally, I just made this up here, and then later on, I realized I shouldn't just jump straight into this. It's here. I'm actually turning on the radio. That there should be something leading up to it, so I made this prelude a little later. I also touched up a little bit of stuff, timing and whatnot, but play the whole thing first.
Yeah, nothing down that way. Hello?
Why is this not? I don't know why this is not playing. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, nothing down that way. Hello? You guys there? Hello? I guess I'll just give them a call.
Okay, so that was the prelude. I do... What is this?
Alright, Where did they go? Guys?
I guess that's just alternate takes or something. So then here is the actual phone call after the prelude.
Hey, where are you guys at? I just got out of the southern shaft.
Damn it, you're still down there?
Who is it?
Chris. Yeah, we just got unpacked up here. You can't just come back up on your own. It would be a little while before we can get back down there.
No, I lost my bearings. Don't remember how to get back to the entrance. How long is a little while?
Probably a couple hours. Your watch has a compass, right?
Yeah.
Just try to work your way north a bit if you can. Follow the larger shaft. Don't get stuck down in the small ones. How much battery life does your flashlight have?
Not much. I can only get a couple seconds of light at a time.
Just try to conserve it. Follow the walls and your compass, only using the flashlight when you need to.
Alright, see you guys in a bit.
And Chris, just keep an eye out for the specimen. Our expedition today didn't find anything. You're probably safe, but just be careful. Worst case, the flashlight could probably blind it momentarily, after having lived in pitch black for so long. We're not sure what other senses it might have yet, so just be careful. The relative quiet could bring it out.
Will do.
All right. So, for the most part, it's pretty straightforward. Go through the various layers. There's these little clicks. I think a lot of them were actually recorded from an actual radio I have. I have it. Oh, there it is. This is actually the radio that I showed a picture of in the last video that I used for making the radio feedback, which I'll show later here. It's part of what I used, but I think those are the buttons I used for it.
Hey, where are you guys at? I just got out of the southern shaft.
These are the main
No,
characters' lines. I think it's Josh from that AI voice synthesis website I showed in the last video. I believe Josh is the preset I used for him. So there is a little bit of this. Radio static. It is pretty quiet here. The bigger use for this is actually vocoding the lines from the person you're talking to on the radio. That vocodes on this. And distorts the vocals in a really cool way. So it's here, it's quiet, but the more important use of it is in vocoding. I think I do have a little bit. Oops. I think these are actually from the feedback I recorded. Kind of squelchy, screeching radio sounds. Actually, let's see. I think this is a. That's a longer sample of what the radio feedback sounds like. I might like to do a track based around it at some point. I would definitely like to do more radio-based tracks, like Neurons, a track I made quite a while ago, that remains one of my favorite tracks I've ever made, and I'd like to do more like it, but what I want to do is create the sort of like 3x3 radio matrix that can all be tuned separately and are all routed together and stuff. I want to make that just out of a bunch of like cheap radios. I think that'd be cool. So whenever I get around to doing that, I'll probably do some more radio-based tracks. Then this here, this is, oops, the antenna, switch. Not sure what that switch is actually. There's a little static in it. Oh, you know what? That might be the on-off switch on this radio. It's one of the ones where you turn up the volume knob to turn it on. I think it might actually be one of those. And then again at the end, turning it off and closing the antenna. So the more interesting part here is the stuff that goes through the radio. So we have the Explorer 1's lines. I forget what. I think it might be Arnold or Anthony is the voice preset I used.
Damn it, you're still down there? Chris. Yeah.
Let's see if I turn all this off.
Damn it, you're still down there? Chris. Yeah, we just got unpacked up here.
That's what it sounds like, but...
Damn it, you're still down there? Chris. Yeah, we just got unpacked up here. You can't just come back up on your own. It would be a little while.
You can hear a
before we
lot
can get
more
back
of
down
that.
there.
A lot more of that vocoding on the radio feedback there.
Damn it, you're...
But beyond that, it's a pretty standard, saturator and pretty tight EQ for making a kind of harsh radio sound. Then I have the vocoder going on the radio recording, which for some reason is called clean vocals. I don't know. And then the dry wet's pretty low. If I turn it up all the way,
Damn it.
let me see. Sounds a little crazier.
Damn it, you're still down there? Chris. Yeah, we just got unpacked.
So, yeah, just a touch of that.
Damn
but
it, you're still down there?
it
Chris.
has a pretty
Yeah,
good
we just
effect.
got
I
unpacked
think.
up here. You can't just come back up on your own. It would be a little while before we can get back down there.
I really like the sound of it. And then just this quick little line from Explorer 2,
Who is it?
which I think I got the, human speech timing, pretty much perfect between these.
Damn it, you're still down there? Who is it? Chris. Yeah, we just got unpacked up here.
I really like the, I don't know, the way, actually, I think, let me see if I can pull it up here. Maybe I just manually, yeah. So I actually brought down the volume of him saying the name a bit to imply, he turned around to face the other person. I don't know. I just liked how that all came together pretty well, but yeah, that's pretty much it for the opening cutscene. There's also this rumble. This is also used in the ambience. This is just made by getting basically any noisy source. I got some extremely loud, distorted, clipped recordings of some machines, and then pitch shifting it, actually pitch shifting so it stretches down probably 48 steps, and then applying low pass filter, and you just get this really foreboding heavy rumble. I didn't end up doing it, but I had thought about kind of having this as a separate layer in the soundtrack or something like that, and have the volume of it increase as the monster's intensity increases, because just this low rumble, even if you don't really hear it, makes things a lot more tense and just kind of overwhelming. The biggest inspiration for it I can think of is in the movie Eraserhead, where a lot of the soundtrack, if you want to call it that, is just a kind of rumble like this. I think the entire movie sounds like it takes place in a machine, and there's just something really unnerving about the sound in that movie. And so that was one of my inspirations for adding this rumble. All right. So now I'll move on to the good ending. So kind of similarly here, there is like the main part of it, but then I also made something that kind of leads into it and then something that leads out of it. So I'll just play through all that now.
He can't be too far now.
I'm sure we'll find him before too long.
How the hell did he get lost down here?
I mean, we got separated and it's dark down here. Doesn't seem too hard to get lost.
Hey, I'm over here.
Hey, there you are. Sorry for the wait.
Let's go. We need to go. The sound from you guys might have scared it off, but we need to go.
What are you talking about? You saw the specimen?
More than that.
God, Chris, what happened?
I'll explain. Let's get out of here.
Are you all right? Thankfully, it didn't take too long to find you.
Did you get a good look at it?
I only got glances at it. The flashlight trick worked pretty well, actually. Scared it off for a bit. Thing is scary, though. There's no way we would have been prepared to deal with something like that. Seems like it has very acute hearing, and potentially some sort of infrared.
I can actually play. You know, it filters and fades out before you're able to hear everything. So let me. How do I want to do this? Yeah, I guess I can just kind of delete all these and then not save it.
To deal with something like the flashlight trick worked pretty well, actually. Scared it off for a bit. Thing is scary, though. There's no way we would have been prepared to deal with something like that. Seems like it has very acute hearing and potentially some sort of infrared vision.
How about you give us a heads up that you're going down some random tunnel next time, eh?
Glad we found you.
For sure. I'm just messing with you. Kinda.
So those are the lines you can't hear. Doing that also made it more obvious. A little other thing I did here, both at the very start and at the very end, I automated the reverb decay length. So basically, the further away they are from the player, the longer the delay is, or decay is. I don't know if that's exactly how it would work in a cave, but I think it worked pretty well, as in addition to lowering the volume and a low pass filter, it kind of gives you an extra indication of their distance. So the footsteps here were kind of annoying. This was something I did kind of late in the process. I think this was like with less than a week left to finish it. So I didn't have a ton of time. And I didn't have time to record more footsteps. I don't know if I even was able to at that point. There's a big story of things that happened over the course of this project that I'm going to save for a later episode. But I may have been actually unable to record more footsteps, so I went in and dug through that project file I showed in the previous video, where I had, like these big blocks of unchopped recordings. And I chopped out a bunch of footsteps. And then I kind of realized I didn't chop out enough. Also, I think they aren't footsteps as good as the ones you hear like here. Why can you not hear this? Oh. Oh, because of this, yeah. So those footsteps were actually created out of all the individual layers I showed here. So they actually sound like full footsteps like they are in the game. I think for the footsteps I used here, I think this is just the gravel accent. I'm pretty sure it's just the gravel accent. But I chopped out like, I don't know, probably 16 or 17 of these samples or something like that. And then I realized like that wasn't nearly enough. Making footsteps for multiple people is more difficult than making footsteps for a single person, obviously. And so I just kind of had to make do with what I had. The most important thing to me was randomizing and layering it to a degree that you couldn't quite tell if it was a bunch of the same repeated samples, which it is. So I had to kind of painstakingly like manually reorganize these and layer them in such a way that they're not just like all happening at the same time. So that was kind of a pain, but I think it worked out all right. You can see here the decay length going up. Yeah, I think it came together all right, but it was not not the best. That's something I might want to work on more if we get around to working more on the game. It is kind of annoying though. Footsteps overall are kind of annoying, I think. But I did a lot of them for the game. Alright, so I think that's about it for the cutscenes. I guess I can get into the bad ending cutscene here, which I hope is in this project. This was by far the most difficult thing I made for the game. It was pretty much a weekend by itself to make this cutscene. Let's see. Yes, here it is. Now let's see if Ableton can actually handle it, because I mean, as you can tell, there are a lot of tracks in this project. There is probably like 30 gigabytes of recordings. So hopefully I'm able to play it without trouble. But I would not be surprised if it gets choppy. We'll see. Oh, that's not part of it. Oh. No. Yeah, that was my concern. I guess I'm gonna have to give it a minute longer to load. While I do that, I guess I can go into... What is happening? Okay. I'll try to go into a little bit of stuff in Wise while that is loading. Actually, you know what? I can do the cutscene events. Oh my goodness, that thing is having trouble. The cutscene events. So, start game is... Oh, well, actually, I guess I'll just go into the entire start of the game, how that works. So, the first event after loading sound banks is game launched, which sets a couple of states and then starts the main menu music, which is this, which I made in Watcha. I think I talked about that in the last video, which I did manage to get like perfect loop on, which I was really happy with. Let's see if I can show that off. Oh, that's so clean. So that's what game launch does, and then it plays the start game vocal after 5 seconds.
Press any button to begin.
So then, after the player presses any button, this event is posted, which, okay, so the states here, the pause system basically mutes everything other than the pause bus, which handles the pause and unpause sound effects and the pause music. And the main menu state does basically the same thing, but for when you're in the main menu. It mutes everything other than what is going on in the main menu. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So once you start the game, it sets the state to false. I believe in this state there has a transition time. It does not have a transition time. Never mind. Alright, so it sets that to false. Stops the vocal. That's not strictly necessary usually, but just in case. Stops the main menu music with a fade. Plays start game, which is a shing sound effect. Whoa. Okay, I don't know what that was. Huh. That's interesting. That is interesting. Huh. I don't know what happened there. Hopefully that didn't come through too loud on the video. It seems like it must like mute itself if it gets too loud. That's really weird. I don't know what is up with that. But yeah, start games, this sort of shing and whoosh sound effect for indicating that the game has started. post the event to start the environmental ambience, which just plays the environmental ambience. Most things that start something playing also stop them playing, just so you don't, get stuff doubled up if something goes wrong. With a slight delay, then sets the cutscene playing to true, the cutscene playing state to true. This is kind of similar to these states. However, it doesn't mute everything. I believe you can still move around in the cutscene unless things were changed later on. I don't remember. But like breathing, for example, you don't want to hear the players breathing while the cutscene is playing because the player is talking. So it wouldn't really be right for them to be breathing and talking at the same time. Let's see. And I had to change that later on because of how Cursed ended up programming it. So basically, everything I had originally envisioned it that the cutscene would play and then everything would start, basically. But basically, everything and the cutscene starts at the same time. So I had to make this the cutscene playing state for muting or at least fading out a lot of other sounds while cutscenes were playing to just make that work. Then it plays the opening cutscene with a delay and starts the player's heartbeat, breathing, and the music. So starts. Okay, so I guess I changed this a little bit. So the breathing actually didn't start yet. That starts after the cutscene finishes. The opening cutscene is like 85 seconds. Heartbeat does start because that would make sense to hear, even though you shouldn't hear it during the cutscene probably because it should be quite quiet. Hey, cat's on the counter again. Yeah, you better get off. So then after the cutscene ends, it starts the breathing, it starts the music, and it sets the cutscene playing state to false. The game 1 event is how you hear the good ending cutscene. And so here stops the main music with a pretty generous fade. Sets the cutscene playing state to true. Plays the cutscene. Stops the environmental ambience. So I think I timed it out so basically this faded out with the ending of the cutscene. So did I don't remember actually. It doesn't really matter. Sets that to false and stops the breathing, the monster breathing, the player breathing, and the heartbeat. And let's see, game over. Let's see if we can actually play it now. I think we might actually be able to. So this is how you hear the sound of the cutscene I'm about to play. This is if you have gotten too close to the monster is in its attacking state. You're too close, you like touched it or whatever like that. I'm not actually entirely sure how it's programmed. I haven't dug too deep into that. But basically, this is when the monster catches you, and you know, you didn't scare it off with the flashlight and whatever. Stops the main music, sets the state, plays the cutscene. A lot of this is the same as the Game 1 event. However, it also plays the game over sound effect, which is here. Which you cannot hear. Oh, you know what? There we go. So that's the game over sound effect, just to kind of solidify the idea that, okay, yeah, you're dead. The game's over. If that wasn't already obvious by this sound effect. And I think that's about it. These are by far the most complex events. Most stuff is just playing some sound. But yeah, the game over, game 1, and start game events are all fairly complex because they kind of start and end the main sound engine of the game. There's also start game short, which does this but without the cutscene, so you also don't need the delays on it. But yeah, that's about it for those events. Now let's break down this sound effect, this monster of a sound effect. So it is 12 tracks. 12 tracks, but I think probably a lot more than 12 samples. Because I was pulling stuff from all of these recordings for this. But we'll listen to it through first. Oh no, it's still choppy. Come on. Let's try again. There we go. I love this sound. Okay. So, well, first, I guess I'll talk about one of the last things I added were these footsteps. Because I was thinking, it kind of implies movement, that it like growls and then roars and then you hear all this ripping and stuff. It implies that it lunged at the player, but you don't actually hear it lunging. So I did make some footsteps out of the layers, like I have here, the movement group. I made some footsteps. And then that's when it kind of like stomps, growls, and then it lunges. And then you hear these impacts as it lands. So the initial growl is kind of weak, actually. I made a lot of better growls for the monster later on, but these are okay. Oh. But the funny thing is, they are both, maybe? I thought only one of them was. But based on based on file names, they might not both be. I'm not sure. Or they might both be. I know I used a creaking door. My bathroom door is extremely creaky. I'll swing it so you can probably... My bathroom's a good distance away from this computer, but you'll probably be able to hear it. So, that's my bathroom door. It's extremely creaky and extremely useful for getting some really good sounds, but at least one of these is made out of the creaky door. Sometimes my my file names do not make sense. Let's see. So a lot of these have some amount of auto pan. You can see like changing the frequency, changing the amount. There's a lot of automation going on across like all of these tracks, which is part of why this whole sound effect took a really long time to make. But based on track names, I would guess some of these were made out of balloons. Maybe, I'm not entirely sure. But there's the inhale, then a roar. So let's see here. What's this one? Without all the effects. Oh, okay, so that's I got this little massager sort of thing. One of those ones that you can set on the floor and it'll just kind of scoot around. You know, it has like 3 little feet. And I put that on this metal I don't know, enclosure sort of thing I got from work, and it made this sound. So with a whole bunch of effects. This I would guess based on the name, if I can, thank you. It's from like, you know, stretching a balloon, so like gripping it and manipulating it. So yeah, that's just me like inhaling. A lot of these sounds are just made by me. I learned a lot about what my voice can do over the course of this, because pretty much all of the monster sounds are just made by me. There's some stuff from like balloons, creaky doors, stuff like that, but largely it's just my voice. So that's sort of pained inhale sort of thing. There's another creaky door. Slowed down a lot. Actually not a ton, but a good bit. just another sound. Oops. I made. What is going on? There we go. Then this one. Oh yeah, this is like a little weird high-passed screechy sort of thing I added to the roar. Now let's listen to it. Alright, so there's a snort. I made a lot of snorts over the course of this. It's another inhale sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, just kind of a snort. Kind of unpleasant to do. Kind of hurts your sinuses, but get some good sounds. So this is this weird, like, wild scream. This was kind of annoying to make. I think it might have been the hardest part. So I wanted something that was more than just a roar. That was actually, yeah, more of like a screech sort of thing. I was listening to, so I listened to a lot of movies while working on this game. I listened through the Fantastic Beast movies at least once. I think I got like halfway through it again or so. Weird movies that I don't know what's going on in them. It's baffling, but there is some really good sound design in them. There's the Book of Eli. Both parts of It. That was really good. I ended up watching those again and actually like watching them because I really liked them. Actually, that inspired something I will show later on. What else? There was a ton of stuff, but specifically when the weekend I spent working on this, I was listening to I Am Legend. It's one of the things I was listening to. Also, I, Robot is another one. But I Am Legend, the like monsters in it they had this kind of like screechy scream kind of thing. And I partially wanted to get a sound somewhat like that to add to this cutscene. So I'm not even sure how I made these sounds. I think they're all my voice. It's just like a whole bunch of weird inhaled sounds. Oops. Pitched up in many cases, I believe. Oh, yes. So I found pitching up with warping in the texture mode with a pretty low grain size and then kind of varying the amount of flux could get some really cool effects. You can get, just playing around with that, some really cool sounds. So I think pretty much every time I pitch something up here, I'm using texture mode, small grain size. You can probably notice here I was using a lot of kilohertz sound effects, especially over the course of making the monster sounds. I like the pitch shifter a lot. One nice thing about the pitch shifter as opposed to the pitch shifter in Ableton is that it has a single pitch knob, so it's not fine and coarse, it's just one thing. And that allows for some cool stuff. Oh, let's see this last one here. So that's just a pretty distorted roar from me, I think. So the next part here. Oh, I guess I should probably talk a little bit about the kinds of effects I used here. There are a lot of common elements across all these tracks. They're each different, but a lot of common effects, particularly pitch shifters, both Abletons and the kilohertz. The kilohertz chorus, the kilohertz formant filter. This was awesome here. Modulated auto pan, saturation, sometimes overdrive, but usually saturation, filtering. That's pretty much it. And then of course combined with a lot of pitch shifting here. Basically everything is pitched down quite a bit. All right, so now let's get to the next part of the sound. All right, so here's the bite. There's also whatever this is. I'm not really sure what that is, actually. I don't know if that's supposed to be there. It sounds pretty cool. Oh, let's see. How did I do that? I found a lot of weird techniques for making weird sounds in like my throat and sinuses and like flapping my tongue and stuff like that. So it's probably something I did with that. I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm not actually sure what that sound is supposed to be. Been a little while since I worked on it. So a lot of like juicy sounds here. This is where the picture I showed in the last video of the massacred cantaloupe was used. You can see all these cantaloupe recordings. I got some peppers, like red bell peppers, to crush and rip and stuff like that. Some carrots and celery for snapping and biting. I had some older recordings of cracking walnuts, which make these really, really intense transient cracks that'd be good for like cracking bones and stuff. Squishing fruits. I believe this was actually an older recording I had a bunch of like rotten apples, and so I recorded squishing all of those up. I think that blood. This was done with a chamois leather. I just got a big bowl of water, put the leather in there so it like soaked up a bunch of water, and then laid down a towel on the floor. So because you don't want to really hear the like water splattering, but then just kind of squeeze out the leather, and it makes this really like juicy squishing sound you can hear. Like that. It's pretty good. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of sounds. This, let's see. Not sure. Yeah, I guess that's from me. I wasn't sure if I had used... I have some recordings of the cats eating their wet food. I believe I used those at some point. I think I used it in one of the other monster roars at some point. But yeah, I think that one's from me. So let's hear this gory section. I don't know why these are named Pepper. Because they're definitely not. Unless I happen to record that sound at the same time, I don't know. Alright, so that's probably the bell pepper. That's some celery. That's probably the pepper. Yeah, so maybe this might have actually been celery. That might be celery. That's the pepper. Pepper's a classic for making, like, you know, gory, crunchy sounds. It's... you get really good sounds from them. And then I made them to a really nice omelet. I pitched that down a lot. I'm not actually sure what that is. I'd imagine it's one of the you know, peppers or celery or something, but it's kind of weird. I'm not sure exactly. So this is actually from the recording of me eating the cantaloupe. I was like slurping it up in just the most horrible, gruesome way possible to get really nasty sounds, and I did. So that's me just slurping up the cantaloupe. I guess that's probably just stuff recorded from my inhale scream sessions. Chewing some really juicy cantaloupe. So yeah, there's the cracking walnuts. Cracking them in a vise. It gets some really, really intense transients. Oh, that's probably cracking the carrots. Some more carrots and juicy stuff. Oh yeah, so the scream. Where is the scream? Oh, here it is. So this is actually a scream I recorded a while ago. It's one of the ones I used in the mental paralysis EP But yeah, this was another case where I didn't have time to record a better scream, so I went with something I had, and I think it worked pretty well. Then I recorded like choking on water, as like, you know, your lungs filling up with blood and choking to death on it. And then this, just like pitched down. I don't know. That's another thing where, like, I don't know if it's really real or not. I don't know if, like, people when they die let out like this one last dramatic breath like they do in movies, but I'm not trying to make realism here. I'm trying to make a gruesome sound effect. And then yeah, this is the chamois blood I showed earlier. So yeah, that's it. That's the ending cutscene. It was a lot, but I'm pretty happy with it. And then in a later video, I'm going to get into all of this. It's a lot. I created these like engines for making roars and stuff. It's pretty cool, but I'll get into that later. And I need to go. So thanks for watching, and I'll be back with, I don't know, maybe I'll just go over the rest of the monster sound effects next time. See ya.